The Green Goblin Mask 1, okay? The Green Goblin Mask 1. You saw the title, saw the thumbnail. I am sorry. All right. All right, here we go.
Today we have a subject that I know for a fact most of you don't care about. We're going to discuss the infantilization of family-friendly video games.
Okay. Just off rip. The infantilization of family-friendly. So, essentially games for children. These are baby games, but okay. All right, okay.
Or as my live stream chat likes to call them, baby games. At
I am not part of his chat.
first, this was going to be a Donkey Kong Bonanza review, but, well, as I played it, I realized the game is so incredibly bland that there's no way I could make a vaguely interesting video about it. And it doesn't...
That's insane. I now have already paused it 30 times. To say that this game is incredibly bland, people are saying this is better. This is game of the year. People are saying this is like better than Mario has to step his game up. You're saying this is bland? It doesn't
really seem like many people actually care about the game because they're still pretty pissed at Nintendo for single-handedly
what are you talking about?
Price.
What are you talking about? Like, I don't know, man. Like, obviously, it's not going to be outselling Mario World, Super Mario Kart World, or anything like that. But like, to say no one cares about Donkey Kong Bonanza is insane.
Video games to $80, and of course the Switch to itself being overpriced, and Donkey Kong Bonanza honestly just didn't even really look that interesting outside of the punching through walls gimmick, which many games have done by now.
Why'd you buy it then?
Better than this game. And as you've probably noticed if you've watched my channel over the years, when I review mid games, those are usually the least interesting videos. So instead, let's just talk about the death of baby games in general.
Let's lament about the loss of games for children.
I don't know if this is yet another sign of the impending idiocracy, or arguably we're already there, but I'm sure all of you have noticed how hand-holdy video games have become over time, whether it's this newest yellow paint phenomenon, or the fact that every single game has to have an at least hour-long tutorial before it lets you play the game. But honestly, I feel like DK Bonanza is a new level of stupid that really feels condescending. Now, you could argue a lot of its problems are the same exact problems that Super Mario Odyssey had, and as you might know, I despise Super Mario Odyssey. I think it is the worst 3D Mario game by a significant margin.
What is his... Okay, so I know his whole thing is like, he doesn't enjoy things, but like, this is a 25-minute video going over the, I don't know, death of baby games. But like, your complaint is that what, this game for children is hand-holdy? It's a game for children. Like, I don't look. What is the argument being here? It doesn't speak to the quality of the game. It's again, this game's getting high marks. But if you're upset that it's too handhold, it's for children. Like, there's some depth to it so adults can play, but it's for children. It should be beatable and handheldy. Like, that's what it is.
I know a lot of people like to hate on Super Mario Sunshine for being unpolished, but at least it's a challenging game and has fun, unique mechanics.
Because it's unpolished.
The only interesting thing about Odyssey was Cappy, and taking over enemies was just so bland and one note. Wasn't really used in any truly interesting way. It was purely surface level. And the reason I bring this up is because if you imagine the Cappy mechanic and then just applied it to all of DK Bonanza, you essentially have the game, because punching through walls at first is pretty fun. Destroying the environment in video games is always pretty cool. Red Faction Guerrilla is a great underrated game I reviewed. I think Deep Rock Galactic is a super fun co-op game where the destruction really adds to the shooting experience. Tear Down was a pretty fun indie game where you had to be creative about how you destroy the environment to pull off a heist as fast as possible.
That's the whole point of the game.
DK Bonanza just doesn't feel like it does anything with the mechanic. Instead, this feels like a game for, well, babies and only babies. If things like Spyro, Crash Bandicoot, Super Mario 64, Banjo-Kazooie, those are all considered baby games.
I like the fact that he's saying that it doesn't add anything to the gameplay, and then he is showing you footage of different ways to use that. And I have seen tons of footage of this game where people are using that technique in order to do like crazy movement stuff.
Wait, I gotta go back for that treasure though. Alright, now I have a new plan. There we go. I can get that one. This is how I'll do it. This is how I'll do it. Ha, ha, yeah, wah. Hey. That's the way. You say, wah. Almost. Maybe I should just get the zebra power. Okay, be like, there you go. Yeah, there you go. Uh-huh. Yep, and then, okay. No! I got this. I don't need the zebra power. I'm better than that. This is working. What I'm doing is working. I did it!
But also his own video is showing like
games by my
it doesn't do anything interesting. Oh, let me just fucking throw a rock on lava and clear it.
This is truly one of the most brain dead games I've ever played, to the point where I was losing brain cells in real time, which led to some, well, kind of hilarious retard moments from me. Because this entire game is just punching through stuff. And it has that same problem Super Mario Odyssey has, where the main collectible of the game feels utterly meaningless. You get one of these bananas every 5 fucking minutes. It's actually unreal. In many cases, it's less than 5 minutes. It's often just 1 minute between each major collectible. Now, of course, the difference in this game compared to Odyssey is that every 5 bananas you collect, you get a skill point. Yes, there's a fucking skill tree in DK Bonanza. Nintendo.
Wait, why is that bad then? You were complaining how the game is just punch, but then you have a skill tree. Doing a charge jump by holding A will cause damage as you launch jump burst. There are multiple skills here from multiple areas. One's for offense, right? Clears defense, mobility, like health, a skill. Like, what are you're saying that it's just punching?
Nintendo has truly fallen. This has got to be one of the most creatively bankrupt games that they've ever made. But that aside, the skill tree is mostly pointless. Very few of these upgrades feel meaningful on any level except getting more health or slightly upgrading one of your transformations abilities. A lot of the main skill tree's abilities are made completely obsolete by the transformations. And the big Kong and the elephant were really the only ones that enhanced that core destroy the world experience. The zebra just kind of runs fast, and not even like Sonic fast. It's only like 50% faster than DK, it feels like. And the
okay, here's the thing for me. Why would first off, Nintendo, that's weird to make the zebra skin the speed one, but why were you expecting Sonic speeds? Like here, let's listen to this again. Let's break this down.
Enhance that core destroy the world experience.
The core destroy the world experience that he himself is saying is boring, and it gets boring real quickly, right?
The zebra just kind of runs fast, and not even like Sonic fast.
So the zebra adds a different element then to the game, right? So it's no longer just punching. Now you have speed, so you probably have to do some like quick platforming or know when to switch out to different abilities, like, right? So then it's not just punching. But now you're mad because the zebra's not Sonic fast?
It's only like 50% faster than
50% faster. He's faster.
DK feels like. And the ostrich flies, which completely breaks the already non-existent platforming experience. Yes, I know I said I wouldn't review this game, but I just had to get a little bit of my rage out right there.
But then obviously it's not strictly going for a traditional platforming experience if you can fly. Like, what is his complaint?
Really, the true problem here is that this game is just incredibly bland and repetitive because it has no challenge at all. Now, I know some of you who don't really play this genre will say, what are you talking about? All these games are brain dead easy. That is not true at all. Super Mario Sunshine is notoriously difficult at certain points. Yes,
yeah, but you just said because it wasn't polished though, right?
It's arguably because of jank reasons, like the Pachinko machine. But basically every level that took away FLUDD challenged your basic platforming fundamentals. Now, I will say, Sunshine's controls are not the best. They're definitely not as smooth as some of the other 3D Marios. But for me, at least, it was a pretty refreshing change of pace. It was some much needed game.
This is so funny. So he's saying that the game with bad controls was better because it was difficult, but because the controls were bad. Not because it challenged you because the controls were bad. Also, you don't play Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong's platforming has always been bare bones. It's never been the core of the game. Not any Donkey Kong game. has the core been platforming, whereas the core of platforming has been central to Mario's. Every Mario centers around that. Donkey Kong does not center around that. You're trying to compare them to Mario. It's not Mario. It's Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong swings from vines and punches shit and throws barrels. Like, it'd be like if you were saying that the Mario, let's say, I know he doesn't like it, but Mario Odyssey is bad because Mario doesn't punch hard enough. He doesn't fight enough. He's not as strong. He doesn't jump around enough. Like, he doesn't throw shit. Like, yeah, he's not Donkey Kong. You play these for different reasons. Are you upset that this isn't like Kirby? Like, are you upset that this isn't like Metroid? These are different games. One can be a platformer, sure, but doesn't make it the same type of platformer.
Gameplay variety. But I'm not here to sell you on Super Mario Sunshine. A lot of people have decided they just don't like the game that much for various reasons.
You keep talking about it, though.
And you can definitely make the argument Donkey Kong is not a Mario game, even if it's made by the Mario Odyssey team. But to me, it feels like it was clearly meant to be Super Mario Odyssey 2 in some ways. My problem is people are not really looking at this realistically. I don't think so-called baby games are even made for children anymore. They feel like they're made for, well, man children, which you could certainly consider me one of those because I still love this genre to this day. The thing is, there's clearly been a change in philosophy at some point at Nintendo. Again, the conspiracy theorist in me says to prepare for the global IQ decreasing.
Here we go.
The game has to show you how to put the square peg in the square hole repeatedly at that. And to bring up a few other obvious examples of this happening in
You're bringing up games for children.
We of course have the last several Pokemon generations, starting with X and Y. Mega Evolutions were basically a free win button from the moment.
Do you think he's going to mention Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom? Or would that completely eviscerate his point?
That you obtained your first one in the campaign. You're basically unstoppable. You could one-shot everything. Sun and Moon had what felt like hours of cutscenes. They were hand-holding you throughout that fucking game for like no reason at all. Compare this to Red and Blue, where you could actually do certain gyms out of order, and while it wasn't exactly an open sandbox, you still had to figure out where you were supposed to go and what you were supposed to do. Did any children complain about that growing up? And of course, Scarlet and...
Honestly, probably. Like... They probably did. I hate this argument so much. It's just like, it's the same thing I saw in like the Critical Drinkers game thing I did, right? Where it's like, when I was younger, games were harder and now they're too easy. Or maybe you're just older. Like, you're not the target demographic. Like, you're not the target demo. And sure, maybe the attention span of people have gone down tremendously due to, like, you know, influence of social media and other factors. But you're not the target. This is like complaining that Bluey preaches too much. You know what I mean? Like, this is like saying these parents episodes, they look in the camera and tell you bullying is wrong. They don't trust their audience to pick that up. No, because their audience isn't 35-year-old men. The audience is 5-year-olds. You're going to have to make certain concessions. Like, what is this?
Violet, ignoring the fact that it's kind of a buggy on optimized piece of shit that looks worse than a PS2 game, was also insultingly
I mean, it did look bad.
Another good example, and a long anticipated sequel for me anyway, that I was disappointed with a couple years ago, was Pikmin 4. The dog was the worst idea they ever had. It completely removed the micromanagement aspect of the game, of having to actually control your small army and make sure they don't get fucking instantly squished or drowned or choke on poison gas, set on fire, etc., etc. No, it just jumps on the dog, and then the dog charges into the big monster, and then they all jump and bash the fucking thing at once, and you kill everything in a matter of seconds. I was so looking forward to the return of dungeons, because Pikmin 2 is my favorite Pikmin. I know a lot of people like 1. I just feel like there is...
This is just a guy lamenting about games that he wanted to be good not being good, or to his liking. That's it. Like, because that's it. That's all this is. Because there were other Nintendo games that defeat his purpose. Is he going to talk about the Metroid games? Is he going to talk about fucking Kirby games? Is he going to talk about Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom? Let's see.
Isn't enough to it. 2 really fleshed out the core gameplay, the addition of treasures, the removal of the time limit. It made it so that the game could be made more challenging because since you had no time limit, you had unlimited time to make more Pikmin. So the dungeons could afford to just kill 50 dudes in 1 second if you fuck up. Pikmin 4 is not a bad game by any stretch. It had a lot of content, and the true challenge came from the time management mini games where you tried to figure out the most efficient way to grab all the treasures in a certain amount of time. But I honestly didn't care for any of that stuff.
So again, then the issue here for the Pikmin is that there's still a challenge there. You just didn't like how they did it. Just like potentially maybe people didn't like the fact that the dungeons had no time limit, and so you could just take forever. Because if you could say you could decide how, he said you could do that with the Pikmin, right? Like,
so the dungeons could afford to just no time limit. You had unlimited time to make more Pikmins.
Unlimited time to make more Pikmins. So what if I completely destroy the challenge here by making 1,000 Pikmin or whatever and just fucking start running shit over? Like, there's always checks and balances.
The dungeons could afford to just kill 50 dudes in 1 second if you fuck up. Pikmin 4 is not a bad game by any stretch. It had a lot of content, and the true challenge came from the time management mini games.
Which means there's a challenge. You just didn't like it.
Efficient way to grab all the treasures in a certain amount of time, but I honestly didn't care for any of that stuff. I like the dungeon crawling. I honestly kind of regret not reviewing the game, but it was just one of those
but this is just like, it didn't have the kind of challenge I wanted, so I didn't care about the actual challenge of the game. Like, I'm sorry, but how was that them dumbing shit down? If they change certain aspects but still make it difficult, then why do you care? Isn't that still the point? And also, not everything's going to be universally difficult for people.
Experiences where it sucks the life out of you, and at the end of it you kind of just feel nothing, and it's hard to make a video when you're mostly apathetic toward.
Bro, that's your whole channel. What are you talking about? You feeling nothing and being apathetic? That is your whole brand, Synthetic Man. That's your whole brand. You don't feel anything.
The game, and all things considered, it was fine by today's standards, just not impressive at all. Which again, Pikmin 2 is one of my favorite games.
Why was the Barbie movie here?
Definitely a huge downgrade. What is even the point of playing these games anymore? What makes them fun? I know I've been the type of guy who says that hard doesn't equal good, but if there's no challenge at all, like not even the slightest bit, then the game's boring. And giving out free
you're being
cheat
hyperbolic
codes because some people just can't fucking get good is an embarrassment.
Mind you, he is talking about games aimed at children. Like, this isn't a rated T for teen game or rated M or rated AO. This is a E for everyone game. And he is lamenting that it's too simple. Again, these are games for children. This isn't Dark Souls, right? This isn't Crash Bandicoot 1. This isn't like Ghouls and Goblins. This is like literally game for children. This is a children's game. You can play it, but these are not made with you in mind. He's not going to mention Zelda. There's just no way.
Games are even a fraction as hard as they were in the NES days. On my incredibly lazy podcast I do with my brother, we've been slowly making our way through all of the supposed greatest games of all time. And yeah, obviously some of those NES games are hard as hell, but the games I grew up with managed to find a happy medium. Yes, you could argue Spyro is a little bit too easy for most people. That's fine, but you're not going to find anyone who makes that claim about Crash Bandicoot 1. And yet there's plenty of kids who beat Crash Bandicoot back in the day.
Yeah, but not this level because they fucking cut it out.
And none of them bitch about it years later, except, you know, maybe to point out a few super hard levels.
Oh, no, that was probably a different level. Never mind.
Like those bridges, for example, always felt a little unfair. I just find it incredibly insulting that people just say, oh, well, these games are made for kids. Of course, they're super easy. There's kids who can beat your ass in Call of Duty or Fortnite right now. Why are we pretending that children are all awful at video games?
Okay, this is so stupid. I know I'm not even halfway through, but I have to address this point. Not everyone who plays, let's say, Crash Bandicoot, first off, not everyone beat the game, but secondly, it wasn't like that was everyone's first game. Okay? Like, that's what he's not understanding. This isn't like, oh yeah, there are some kids who beat Crash Bandicoot. I'm sure there are. Just like there's some kids who could probably play, I don't know, fucking Baldur's Gate and understand like how to manage mana and stuff like that too, right? I'm saying that as if I don't know how Baldur's Gate works. But like, of course there's going to be exceptions, but you have to look at the whole. If I gave 100 kids Elden Ring and said, beat the game, I guarantee you half of them would not beat the game. All right? I guarantee you that. And of course, some of them could, but the majority would not beat that game. These are entry-level games. That's what they are. That's why they are skewed for younger people. And then once they get familiar with that, they can then try to find more advanced games. But that's the whole purpose of baby games. That's why they're simplistic. Go from point A to point B, jump here, collect this. It's not, hey, solve the geopolitical situations over here. Go play fucking Rome Total War or whatever. Like, no. You're probably playing other easier games first, and then you move on. When I started playing video games back in the 90s, I'm 35, okay? But when I started playing video games, I didn't start off with like fucking Final Fantasy 7, all right? Kind of what RPGs were. I started off with like the Sega Genesis Lion King game. I started off with like Sonic. I started off with, I mean, okay, I did have Mortal Kombat, but Mortal Kombat wasn't that difficult. You could just uppercut and beat the game. But like, I started off with easy games that I could master, understand, and make me want to play games more. If my first game was a fucking Dark Souls, not to go to Blight Town and just right off rip, I would never touch video games because they're too hard and too complicated, and they're not fun. Like, that's what he's not understanding. He thinks his experience is universal. Kids should not be getting filtered out at a young age. That's the whole point. That's the whole point. It's supposed to get them to get into the hobby. That's why they're easier.
And again, we had no problem beating a lot of these games as kids as well.
Again, he is generalizing his experience by saying we had no problem. There are people who didn't beat this game.
Nobody was asking for them to be so brain dead easy. That's why my mind goes to these conspiracy theories. Whether or not they're true doesn't matter, but whatever the excuse is, it's bullshit.
What a great, I love Synthetic Man so much. What a great statement. Whether or not it's true, it doesn't matter because their reasons are bullshit. So then there is no truth. You can't confirm your conspiracy theories, but any evidence that you're presented is bullshit. Is reason doesn't matter. You've already concocted a universe in which there's just nothing. Then what's the point of this video?
Just making the games worse in the search of the broadest audience possible. This is Nintendo we're talking about. Their games already appeal to basically everybody. So what do they stand to gain from this? Nothing. They only stand to lose. And to touch on another topic that I'm sure many of you were expecting me to cover in detail in this video. Yes, part of infantilization is removing all edge from older cartoon style characters. I don't have to name 1,000 examples here, but I think pretty much everyone has noticed that the subtle differences between the 90s rare DK versus the modern Seth Rogen harmless big buffoon DK. And I don't think anybody likes this change. It's obvious that there is a concerted effort to remove any and all rough edges from the old Attitude era of cartoon mascots. I mean, if you take a game like Gex 3, which is clearly supposed to be for all ages, the entire plot of that game is Gex trying to rescue a kidnapped Playboy bunny model, and after every single level, there's a cutscene where he basically says he wants to fuck her. I'm not even...
Gex was very T for teen. Like, this is just a lie. Like,
Attitude era of cartoon man.
Like, I will give him this. Yes, there has been a lot of sanitation of many characters and many ideas, especially nowadays, because we're getting towards a more puritanical fascist world where those sort of concepts are more conservative too, where those kind of concepts don't jive well with the current zeitgeist. So we are seeing a sanding down of character, which I don't agree with, to be honest. Like, I will concede that point. That it's true. That is what's happening. We are seeing that for many reasons, and I don't like it. We are not allowing people to see, like, for example, when you watch a movie or a TV show and like the bad guys can't really be that bad, because then people go like, oh my God, I can't believe the bad guy essentially assaulted someone. It's like, well, he's the bad guy. We're showing you that this is a bad thing. We're associating a bad behavior with a bad person who does bad things. But people take that as like, you're condoning it and this is that, or you're glorifying it. So I do understand that point. But the Gex point is a lie, because Gex is rated T for teen.
Mascots. I mean, if you take a game like Gex 3, which is clear.
Gex is dead IP, and so are a few of the next examples here. My point is not that these were infantilized, but that they were dead because they were edgy. No, people just stopped playing Gex. Is he going to mention Conquer too?
To be for all ages. The entire
it's not for all ages. It's rated T for teen.
To rescue a kidnapped Playboy bunny model, and after every single level, there's a cutscene where he basically says he wants to fuck her.
What part of that would you think would be playing for like E for everyone? Even in the 90s, they went so stupid to be like, yeah, let's have an E-rated game where the main character wants to fuck a Playboy bunny. Kids love Playboys. 8-year-olds love Playboy. Like, what? No, this is T for teen.
I'm not even joking, dude.
My big, strong Gexy has done it again. Love those bulging biceps.
This would not be for children.
Just the beginning, my fair maiden. Speaking of bulging, did I just say that out loud?
Yep, I'm afraid you did.
Penis.
Bad boy.
That's probably the most extreme example, but you know, you could name a bunch of other characters like Sonic or Crash Bandicoot. If we
wait, Crash Bandicoot was edgy? Please explain.
Move into the 2000s, I think Jack from Jak and Daxter is a really good example, starting with the second game. And a character like Vex absolutely could not even be made today, because
Vex fucking sucks. I have spoken about this on random streams. I hate this game so much. Vex fucking sucks. I think it's one of the last games Acclaim actually put out before it went out of business, but Vex is a terrible game.
Of how ridiculous it is that it was basically just edgy Super Mario 64. And speaking of Mario, I would even argue Mario had at least the tiniest bit of seriousness to his character in the past, and now he's just full-blown soy boy.
This is what they took from us gamers. We used to have masculine Mario. Now we have soy boy Mario. We used to have a Mario that would go, it's me, Mario. And now he goes, it's me, Mario. Like, Mario cannot be your Mario cannot be your idea of stereotypical masculinity. He cannot be. I mean, at least, goddamn, at least Bowser's big and strong and has a kingdom, takes what he wants. Why is that not? Oh, I'm so confused by his logic.
I mean, he literally says wowie zowie. But this video is mainly about gameplay, not aesthetics. That's probably worth its own video. But yes, obviously I noticed it. No, I'm not a fan. Moving on. All right, let's get back to DK Bonanza for a little while. As I've touched on, the collectibles feel basically meaningless, and there's a hell of a lot of them, which is going to remind some of you of Donkey Kong 64, arguably the worst 3D platformer that Rare ever made back in the day, and I would say probably the worst collectathon to 100% I've ever personally done in my life. Now, as I said before,
I will say there were way too many fucking bananas collecting that goddamn game. Too many things to collect. The golden, the crystal coconuts, the bananas, the banana medals, the rare corn, the fairy, like there was a lot. The banana fairies, there was so much to collect.
For the collectibles in this game don't feel nearly as necessary to actually pick up, because bananas are basically completely optional if you're good enough. Not that this game is that challenging to begin with. So you can just gun your way to the next story objective, and the game gives you free bananas as you go anyway. The banana coins are just used to purchase more bananas, and the fossils are used to purchase clothing, which give you buffs. And that's as much detail as I'm going to go into that. When you're not just mindlessly punching through terrain, there is a small amount of platforming in this game. And given that this is a 3D platformer, you would expect the platforming to be a major focus of the level design, and it probably is for about half.
What is this? Is this a 3D platformer or is it an action platformer? That's a distinction. Like, yes, there's jumping and collecting shit, but again, like I said earlier, that's not the main focus of the game. This is like saying because there's jumping and collecting that fucking Zelda is a platformer game, right? Like, this also touches on a video I did a long time ago where certain people weren't understanding when I was saying it's hard to define a genre. because like what makes one a platformer, an RPG, right? There's things that we kind of just like arbitrarily said, this is the RPG camp, this is the platformer camp, this is like the, you know, role-playing shooter camp, whatever, right? But like, is this a platformer simply? Is it an action platformer? It has RPG elements. It's an action RPG. Like, and also it's obvious that the platforming isn't central to this. What's central to this is the destructibility
of the layers, we'll say. But ironically, the parts of this game that feature the most real platforming are often the worst parts of the game because of the transformations. The ostrich and later the snake completely trivialize any challenge that there could have been from platforming.
Okay, but also, wouldn't you have to know how to combine those abilities in order to trivialize said platforming? Because you could have just did the platforming regularly, but you chose to use those in conjunction with each other to expedite, which would be good for like speedrunning. But like, he's saying that there's no challenge, but he's going out of his way to minimize the challenge.
Snake lets you high jump and slow down time, and the ostrich just lets you glide over massive gaps. And this takes no skill at all. And if you're thinking like, well, the transformation is limited, actually, no, not really. The way you fuel the transformations is by collecting gold, and I'd say about 95% of the time, you're gonna collect enough gold during the transformation to immediately transform again afterward. And even if you don't, there's an item in the game that lets you transform without having the gold meter full. This is a true fetus game, trust me. And I could excuse some of this if there was any challenge in the game, but there isn't, man. Even when it comes to easy games, there are levels of easy. You have to understand there has to be at least the illusion of challenge for a game to be engaging. You can argue the Spyro games are very easy. You're probably only going to die maybe a handful of times.
I like how he keeps bringing Spyro up, because no one's talking about it, but he's using it to defeat his argument. He's trying to steelman it, but it's not steelmanning it.
There's still the illusion of death because of all the gaps you have to glide over.
That's such a stupid thing to say. There's the illusion of death because you have to glide over it. Okay, and in here, is there not like fucking lava? Was he not? Is that? Can you jump in the water and swim? Or are you supposed to avoid that? Is that not the illusion of you dying? Even though you can fly across, like you just defeated your own argument. You just like Spyro more because it happened when you were a child.
In DK Bonanza, there's a balloon mechanic that saves you from dying from falling off cliffs, and you can hold up to 10 of them. Another huge problem I have with the hand holding is the lack of any true exploration. There's not really any sense of discovery because this game literally has waypoints every 5 fucking minutes.
And also, the balloon thing, I can't let that go, right? Because then I'd be hypocritical. You get 10 opportunities. I feel like if the game were to give you that many opportunities, there's probably a reason for that. You might use up all your balloons, or there might be a particularly frustrating part where you don't want to start all the way over. And again, I have to stress this. This is not a game for seasoned fucking gamers who can blow through these concepts. Like, you have to take that into account. They are not basing this shit off of the average 20, 30-year-old. They're like, hey, if you're fucking 6 years old and you're playing this game, you want to get better at this game, here you go. Like, this isn't for you.
You always know where to go, even though the sandbox isn't even that big. You're gonna figure it out on your own easily. Another thing that annoyed me over...
And I'm gonna say it again, not everyone fucking likes the whole, we're gonna throw you when you figure it out. As much as people have to bitch and complain about, oh, games are too hand-holdy and they have, too many directions. People also aren't all fans of like, just put me in this game, let me figure everything out. Don't teach me how to fucking jump. I don't want to know how to start the game even. I don't even know what kills me or what the game's about. Just put me in there blind. Like, people are not universal in their likes and dislikes. So this is just clearly not a game for you. It's a game for babies, but it's clearly not a game for you. But that can't be a knock against this game. Like, he acts like as if the games he's compared to, for example, don't also hold your hand. As if Mario games are like this fucking Elden Ring-esque story where you go into Super Mario, you're playing fucking Mario Odyssey or Mario Sunshine, and they're just like, yeah, dude, fucking figure it out, bro. Like, it's cryptic. Like, I don't understand.
time, and I know some people are just going to say, oh, you could have turned it off in options, is the fact that every time you're near something you can interact with, the button prompt on screen shows. And I don't mean like press A to talk. That's fairly normal. I mean like every time you stand near one of these void co things, you got to sing with Pauline, it says, oh, hold L down to sing every time. It's like, I know how to do this. I've done it 100 times already. And again, that completely brain-dead gameplay loop is the type of thing that truly would only be compelling to young children. But what are young
15 minutes into a 25-minute video and you've made your own point. This is for young children
actually playing? They're playing Fortnite. A lot of them play Grand Theft Auto or Call of Duty. And even if they are playing age-appropriate games, it's more likely things like Minecraft or Roblox. The Switch 2 is definitely in the tier of luxury console.
Huge assumptions, right?
Even if you can get it at MSRP, that's what, $500? I had to pay over $600.
Okay, now he's complaining that kids wouldn't have access to a Switch 2. You don't think people who have kids know consoles are expensive? Like when my parents bought me consoles, they weren't saying like, oh, well, since he's a child, when I can buy him this $400 console. They bought it knowing it was $400. They bought it for me to play games on. Like the cost has nothing to do with the children. It's not like a PS5 or Xbox One X, Series X, whatever the fuck, are so much cheaper that it's unattainable to get a Nintendo Switch 2. In fact, Nintendo Switch 2 is priced closer to like the higher models of PS5, which people also buy. Like this is the non-point.
For mine, there's no fucking kids buying this shit and playing Donkey Kong. Why?
Yeah, dumbass, because children wouldn't have money to buy any game or any console. Congratulations, you figured out that children don't have money. Like what? What
is Nintendo designing these games exclusively for small children? Now, of course, there's always going to be the argument that this is not for you, which is a lie, given that, again, I love 3D platformers. I mean, for all 5 of you who watch the best part of my best and worst games of each year videos, there's a 3D platform in the top 5 every single year.
Hey, buddy, do you think 3D platformers are automatically for children now? Like, do you think 3D platformers are automatically children's? Because just because one's a 3D platformer doesn't mean one is made for you. Clearly, this is one of those 3D platformers that you don't like because it's made for children in mind and not the other T-rated games you show.
My top 2 games of last year were Yellow Taxi Goes Vroom, an indie 3D platformer, and Astrobot. So yes, these games are for me. I love this genre. And yeah, I think DK Bonanza is incredibly mediocre, repetitive, and bland. I'm basically a baby game expert at this point. I played almost every major 3D platformer and plenty of decently obscure ones. Well, again, the answer is obvious because games are not made for all ages anymore, for the most part. You could definitely argue something like Fortnite is for everyone. Now, me personally, I got sick of Battle
Technically, it's
Royales
not.
Probably about 2 years after they got popular, and even then, I didn't play them that much. I probably only put 100 hours into Warzone at most, and barely touched PUBG or Fortnite. But I digress.
What's the point of this?
Saying is at a certain point, obviously, all of the huge corporations realize the main demographic for video games is 18 to 34, so the vast majority of games are rated M for mature. But there used to be a lot of effort put into these kid-friendly games. I mean, I still remember the mascot era pretty fondly. And there was a point in the early 2000s, at least with PlayStation, where it felt like their mascots were aging with their audience. I mean, with the PS1, we went from Spyro and Crash Bandicoot to then PS2, we had Ratchet and Clank and Jak and Daxter. Basically going from kids to teens, right? Now it feels like these kids games either don't exist at all or are moving backward. And I'm not going to sit here and wank off Astrobot or anything because I do think the gameplay of that game is a bit lacking to say the least. But if you compare Astrobot to DK Bonanza, at least Astro did have some engaging things going for it. There were a decent amount of gimmicks in that game that at least somewhat enhanced the very simplistic core gameplay loop.
But didn't he just complain about the gimmicks of this game, saying like it's brain dead or it's not original, having a skill tree, having transformations? Those are also gameplay gimmicks who change up the gameplay, where you're not always smashing, you're running fast, you're flying, you're double jumping. Like that's also That is the same thing.
There's even cases where a series gets easier as it goes on, but still maintains enough challenge to feel fair and engaging, usually by adding more mechanics. A great example of this is Crash 1 to Crash 2. Crash 2 is much easier than Crash 1, but it's undoubtedly the better game by a mile. And the main reason that Crash 2 is easier is because they added sliding and a high jump you can do immediately afterward. That one move not only makes the platforming feel a lot more precise, but also opens up the opportunity for having a lot more creative level design.
I just love the fact that he's using the remake version, not the original version, because the original version it was not precise, actually. Very much not precise.
And speaking of level design, there is no goddamn level design in DK Bonanza. It's these mini sandboxes. Thank God they're not giant empty sandboxes for the most part. So slightly better than what I usually deal with when I review mediocre modern games. But even these mini sandboxes, they just feel so flat. There's like no verticality outside of you can dig underground to find some secrets, but digging through the earth is not level design because you're creating the level, which is
oh my god. Hey you guys, there's no level design in Tears of the Kingdom because you're the ones putting together the items and then ascending through the cement. There's no level design because you can manipulate that is the level design. That's the part of the environmental design. That's the level. You can manipulate it by going underneath it. You can decide where you go underneath it. That is part of this. Fine.
Which is just a straight line with no challenges and no enemies. Turning into a big monkey and just punching your way through the earth to get from point A to point B gets boring after 2 to 3 hours. I just can't fucking stand this absolute onslaught of lazy-ass giant empty sandboxes in modern video games, man. I know people used to bitch all the time.
He just said this wasn't a giant empty sandbox, though.
Like corridor shooters in the PS3 era. And don't get me wrong, those do suck. But I think in most cases, having a giant empty sandbox is just objectively worse than having a well-crafted level. I mean, if you imagine any level from Mario 64 and compare that to pretty much any level from Mario Odyssey, I guarantee you can picture that Super Mario 64 level almost perfectly in your memory, whereas the Odyssey one is just a blur. Why? Because Mario 64 has much tighter level design. It's just that simple. And it's even worse
so
in DK
subjective.
Bonanza, obviously, for the reasons I already said. I can remember the level themes, but despite just playing these levels, I don't remember anything specific because the platforming doesn't fucking matter. The bananas don't.
Also, I love this argumentation he's doing to say that one level design is more superior or forgettable, whatever, because he's trying to say that a game that just came out, he can't remember it, but a game that he played during his formative years, he can remember it. Like, I could say, yeah, dude, I just finished playing Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erdtree, and like I barely remember like how Shadowkeep looked, but you know, I do remember Green Hill Zone from Sonic. Therefore, Green Hill Zone superior level design than anything in Erdtree. Like, you see how dumb that is?
Matter either. This is truly one of those games where you could probably just skip almost everything optional and just bum rush your way to the
This is the game where you can skip the optional things. What a concept. Skipping the optional things in the game. Who would have thought? Only in Donkey Kong Bonanza.
end. And the only challenge you might face is if you didn't upgrade health, because I think all of your other basic abilities could probably easily carry you through this game. The game has a hell of a lot of boss fights, and almost every single one is solved by just punching the thing. And I'm not even saying like you have to memorize the boss's attack patterns and then punch. I mean, you run directly up to him and fucking punch him till he dies. But to get back on track here with the point.
Yeah, that sounds like something Donkey Kong would do.
My only.
And he says that as if he's not changing. He's saying that as if right now, that giant ball of magma
Almost every single one
didn't.
is solved by
He
just
missed it. Gets falls on the snow falls on him, right, to cool him off.
punching the thing. And I'm not even saying like you have to memorize the boss's attack.
He then
patterns and
punches
then
it through.
I mean, you run directly up to him and fucking punch him till he dies.
And then he has to transform to go to catch up to him to punch
Get
him.
back on track here with the point of this video. My only question is like,
It's not the same as running up to punch him to die. You have to do multiple things here. Are they super involved? Of course not. It's for children. But to say that you just run up and punch him when you are visibly showing yourself not doing that. He's insane.
Who are these games for? Because
Children.
they're not for children.
They
I
are
don't
for
think
children.
there's any parents who are buying their kids a Switch 2.
Why does he not think that? I don't understand. I don't understand. Do you think parents just the parents buy the children consoles because children cannot buy their own consoles, because children don't have money, because children don't work. So the parents are buying the consoles. The adults are buying the consoles for the children. Why is he so hard to wrap this idea around? Like, I don't think the parents are buying this console for children because it costs lots of money, and parents never buy expensive things for children. Like,
At least probably not until Christmas, where it has some decent games, because I don't hear like any buzz about Donkey Kong Bonanza outside of course, critics giving it a score it doesn't deserve because they suck off every major corporation. I mean, again,
yeah, dude, that's what it
Switch 2
is.
sold out almost immediately by the man-baby Disney adult Nintendo audience.
Motherfucker, didn't you say that you are a man baby yourself? Are you not playing this game on Nintendo Switch 2?
So parents are going to have to pay a premium to get this shit just for 2 games, one of which being arguably the worst Mario Kart game in over 20 years.
Jesus Christ, you're so bad at this. Also, again, just like does he think parents are going out to like going on the internet and looking up like going to like a digital foundry video and be like, whoa, wait a minute. Not only are there only 2 games for this console, even though you can just like backwards compatibility, but look at the frame rate. I'm not going to spend $300, $400, $500, $700 on this because my 3-year-old won't like. It's like, what are you talking about, man? Parents don't do that. Parents famously don't check shit. You know how many times growing up my mom kept asking what my Xbox was? I'm like, Mom, I have a PlayStation 3. I don't have an Xbox. Oh, let me buy games for your Nintendo Switch or for your GameCube. I don't have Nintendo, Mom. This is an Xbox 360. This is an Xbox 360, Mom. You can't buy this game. It won't play on this. And he thinks parents were fucking like, I don't know. I don't know, man.
And while, yeah, I'll admit, if I had this game as a kid, I'd probably like it, but what does that matter? I mean,
What do you mean? What do you mean, what's that matter?
one of which being arguably the worst Mario Kart game in over 20 years. And while, yeah, I'll admit, if I had this game as a kid, I'd probably like it, but what does that matter?
Because you were a kid and you like it. Because this is the product aimed towards you. Holy shit. I'm having an aneurysm. Are you telling me you truly don't understand why that is the key? That is the crucial element to this? It is a product for children. So if children are like, if I was a kid, I'd play this. Yes, because that was the intent. This is for children to play. This is not for adults. Adults can play it, but it's for children. Much like there's TV shows and movies made for children, but adults can appreciate it, but it's not made for you. It's going to have simplistic messaging. It's going to have black and white characters. It's going to have, shit when people come together and they get past their differences, right? And it's corny and it's hokey, but that's good because it's for kids. They don't need to be crushed by the nuances of reality. Let them build up some positivity first. You just defeated your own video by just saying that.
I mean, obviously, kids have lower standards for games, but I'm happy that I grew up with a lot of games that game developers truly cared about making a good experience for people of all ages. Now, of course, I realize I'm talking to my audience, who most of which probably wouldn't touch these games as a grown-ass man. Me, I have pretty broad taste. One day I can play Postal 2 and start gunning down civilians, pissing on them, burning them alive, and then an hour later I play Gex 3 and have a great time. I get it. This is more a video for me than it is for any of you guys, let's be real. But I can't help but lament, like, how Nintendo has slowly fallen over time. I know basically every game studio has fallen and billions must die. But there's something about Nintendo.
Again, he keeps saying Nintendo has fallen, but he's only talked about this game, a Mario game, and then a Pokemon game. But what about Kirby? What about Metroid? What about Zelda? What about the hundreds of other Nintendo games out there? Like, you can't make such wide sweeping comments based off 3 games, especially when these are successful games. And you said that Mario Kart was the worst game in 20 years? Insane. you're making these bold claims, but you have nothing to truly back them up other than I like the old games from a different developer better. That's it. That's all he's saying. He's just one of those people where it's like, old game's better game. This game reminds me of old game, good. This game is old game, good. New game with new stuff, don't like it. No, not for me. And because it's not for me, it's bad.
No, I just feel like they've been slipping and slipping and slipping, and you just hope that they'll recover, because you can see that at least some of their games still have a decent amount of soul, you know? I'm one of those people who really did like Breath of the Wild. I've said it a bunch of times. And
okay.
Even Tears of the Kingdom, although it was basically just a copy-paste job with really shitty Banjo-Kazooie nuts and bolts style mechanics.
Again, this is why I don't, his critiques are so bad. Shitty nuts and bolts mechanic. Nuts and bolts was the shitty version of that. Tears of the Kingdom is the superior version of that idea times a million. It built an entire, to say it's a copy and paste of the first game. I'm going on a tangent now. There's a copy and paste of the first game when you could not do any of that shit in the first game. For them to make a game so solid that they could compute for every potential thing fans would do and it doesn't break the game, but the game still functions as it's intended, is a feat of technical achievement. If you're dumbass to sit here and say, oh, it's just a copy and paste with a worse version of nuts and bolts, get the fuck out of here.
It was still a decent game. Probably should have just been like an expansion instead of a full experience.
How would that have worked? How would that have worked? How would that have worked as an expansion? Explain that. How would that have worked?
But I had fun playing it. Donkey Kong, I can't say I really had fun after like 3 hours in. It was just alright. But yeah, I guess originally I wanted to talk about a bunch of different baby games here, but let's be real, you know, this is definitely the worst example in a long time. Nintendo has clearly just stopped giving a fuck at this point. They know their shit is gonna sell anyway, at least to the Disney adult audience. And yes,
you keep saying that. That's you.
Well, you bought it. It's
yes.
Like, yeah, I'm a video game reviewer. I'm gonna make money off this video. And again, as I've implied.
No, that's because you didn't have to play this game though. Like that's the thing though too, right? Like you didn't have to play. If you were enjoying it, you could have been like, all right, I'm refunding it, or I'm pretty sure it's digital. I'm refunding it, or you don't make a video on it. But you bought the game. You're saying Nintendo sucks and they don't care anymore, but you're contributing to it. You also bought the Switch too.
In this video, none of you should buy a Switch 2 at all. It's not worth it on any level. I wish that it was. I don't want Nintendo to go to shit. And I can only hope that Metroid Prime 4 and Kirby Air Riders are good, because those are the only Switch 2 games I'm looking forward to. I just fear this game is a sign of things to come. That even the few like family-friendly video games that come out anymore have to be dumbed down as much as humanly possible, because our future generations are getting dumber and dumber for reasons I can't say on YouTube, or people say naughty words about me that I'm a bad.
God damn it, dude. He can't go without some sort of like anti-Semitic dog whistle.
Bad person. But again, definitely not implying anything that I'm not allowed to say, of course. I just want games to be fun, man. But as it turns out, making a fun game is difficult even for some of the most legendary studios in the industry these days. So yeah, Nintendo, you've disappointed me yet again, even though my expectations were pretty low this time. At the end of the day, DK Bonanza is not a bad game, but it's completely mediocre and unremarkable, so there's no reason you should play it.
It's so telling to me that a person like Synthetic Man would have that opinion, because Synthetic Man's entire thing is being a miserable piece of shit that is completely antisocial. You cannot like games. Like, fuck, I play games, I'm like, you know, I don't really like it, kind of sucks. But he goes a step further by just making shit up. He said that Gex was for everyone. They make these games for everyone back in the day, now they don't. Gex was never for everyone. It was a T-rated game. He's rated T for teen. Like, and also, yes, we've moved on past the edgy, dark 90s era, for better or for worse. Like I said earlier, I do agree that we have sanitized characters and also stories and ideas too much to where like it doesn't hit the same, because they're not allowed to go as deep as they want to go, right? Even like children's shows growing up, For example, they would show like I watch a Batman animated series, and they pull out bad guys to pull out guns and shoot bullets, right? Because bullets are bad, guns are bad. But then it became like, you can't show that. So then, like in shows like Spider-Man the animated series, they couldn't use guns; they had to use lasers. Suddenly, everyone was like fucking Mr. Fantastic creating these technology they could shoot lasers all the day, every day, right? So like, there's always those ebbs and flows. But as far as it goes here, his critique was basically, again, I miss the old days. I miss it when the games I like to play were made exactly how I wanted them. You cannot like Donkey Kong Bonanza. You cannot like Pikmin 4. You cannot like a bunch of, that's fine. But to be like, this game is bad and boring because I myself have input the buttons to make this game brain dead easy instead of engaging in any sort of way is idiotic. Like he said, you could skip the optional, go straight ahead. Yeah, of course you can skip the optional. It's optional. But his whole mindset was just, well, it's an option, so it's bad. Like you can turn off the options, yeah, but it's bad to have that there. Then turn it off. If you want to engage in the platforming, then engage in the platforming. If they give you the option, which I have to assume it's for like speedrunning purposes, but like if they say, yeah, if you know how to combine these two abilities, you can shortcut this, cool. Or you can engage in the actual platforming. Like you can't complain that the platforming is terrible when you actively avoided the platforming. And like I said before, Donkey Kong games have never been about the platforming, ever. Those are Mario games. I am surprised that he mentioned Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild, because those kind of defeat his argument. And I don't know, like the point of the video, was he trying to say like the Switch 2 isn't worth it because of Donkey Kong Bonanza is not good? Is he saying that Donkey Kong Bonanza is not good because it's made by the Super Mario Odyssey team, which he didn't like? Like there was no clear through line other than like, his title is called Donkey Kong's Proof That Idiocracy is real. And I'm just like, what does this have to do with the movie Idiocracy? If anything, Idiocracy showed that President Camacho, when he thought he had the best hero for the job, and when he was given information that he was actually doing it wrong, he listened to the smartest person in the room and then made adjustments. Like are you trying to say that you're the smartest person in the room and that Nintendo should listen to you to make adjustments? Because I don't know about that, Synthetic Man. You were just talking about how you think Super Mario Sunshine was better because the controls were jankier and then that provided the challenge instead of the actual design. I don't, man. And he said he's a game reviewer. I don't think you're good at this, honestly. I don't think you're good at it. Because he didn't go into any real detail about the gameplay, really. He just talked about how, yeah, you can just punch and win. And then he showed footage of him doing exactly not that. But he didn't talk about like the movement. He didn't talk about like the story. He didn't talk about the plot of the game. Didn't talk about like even things from like a technical level. He just said it's boring and bland. But what makes it bland? Oh, it doesn't have verticality in its level design. Okay, but was this supposed to be a vertical game? Or is this a game where you're supposed to dig deep literally and punch things down and all that stuff too? Oh, well, that's boring. But that's part of the game design. Like, it's just like there's so many inconsistencies and contradictions. I'm like, I don't know why you did this, basically. Like, I don't get it. I don't get it at all. You're saying Nintendo's dumbing down games, but then you mentioned Tears of the Kingdom, which is not a dumbed down game. So like, is Nintendo dumbing down games or not? You didn't even answer your own question. Like it's. But I will say, as far as the Synthetic Man video goes, not that racist. Lots of implied racism, but not, overtly racist. So that's an improvement there. Okay, I'm done. I have nothing else to say. Besides, why do I do this to myself?